What's going on YouTube? Man Cap24 coming back with a new Madden 19 video in which we're going to talk about a feature that got added this year with player roles and specialty positions. I know it's been discussed in a vague standpoint in other videos. You know, Madden went ahead and put their blog out on it. I really want to go a little bit more in detail with this video to give you an understanding of how these player roles work, when you should expect them on the field, and a little bit of strategy behind when you should put them in, when you should not, to really get the most out of the talent on your team. So I'm going to go over them really quickly just to make sure you understand what I'm talking about, and then we're going to go a little bit more in depth as we go in this video. What they've added on the defensive side of the ball are rushing end positions, where they have players that go in on certain formations, rushing defensive tackles, a slot corner, a sub linebacker, and on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to have a power back and a slot receiver, in addition to the third down running back that we've had in the past. So let's go into the depth chart that I've got going on right now. And what I've purposely done is I went and changed all of the specialty players to backup players that are not in the starting lineup. My rushing left end is Vic Beasley. My right end is Anthony Winbush. As you can see here, Garrison Smith is my defensive tackle. And then my sub linebacker, I've got as Kamal Ishmael. He's number 36. I want you to make a point of that. And my slot corner is Isaiah Oliver, number 20. And then on the offensive side of the ball, we'll get to that in a little bit, but I've went ahead and changed out some of those positions. But I want to make sure that at least you see here, power back is Tevin Coleman, and you're going to have a slot receiver that we're going to change to make sure it's somebody that we don't have. Let's go with Reggie Davis. Let's go ahead and start with our ends, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to go into the formation here, and we're going to pick 3-4-4-3. I want you to look at the numbers on the players. On a 3-4 or 4-3, these are base defense, you're going to have your starting front seven in there, meaning whether it's a 3 down lineman or 4 down lineman set, all those guys are going to be the first players on your depth chart. It does not kick in any of the specialty positions when you're running a 3-4 4-3. But when you jump into nickel, this is when things start to change. What you're going to notice is that your ends are no longer the same ends that you have on your depth chart. They're the ones that are going to be the ones that you dedicate to these specialty positions. By all means, if you've got a great left end that can play the run and also go ahead and rush the passer, you're going to want to keep that same player for both positions. In the Falcons' essence, Vic Beasley is a much lesser defensive end when it comes to stopping the run than he is as a pass rusher. So it would make sense for him to have a run stuffing end, maybe somebody like a Derek Shelby, somebody that in the past, like an Adrian Claiborne that we had last year, that you'd put him in that position, but you'd want to put Vic Beasley in passing situations. You've got that ability this year. I want you to look at the nickel formation because a lot of changes happen with this. The first thing you're going to notice is those ends change out. 56 and 44 are not my starting ends. You can look at number 93. He is Garrison Smith. He is not my starting defense tackle. He's not even anywhere on my depth chart when it comes to the top 3 or 4 players. He is going to get subbed in for the second defensive tackle on your roster when it comes to the nickel position, while you keep your defensive tackle number 1. Knowing that's going to help you when you go ahead and set up your depth chart, especially when you're in a mutt situation. Now, I want you to take a look at number 36. That is your sub linebacker. That player there is somebody that is going to replace your middle linebacker, okay? So I want to make sure you know who they're going into because that's going to be in some strategy as we get into later. The number 20 here is Isaiah Oliver. He is our slot corner. He's like number 6 on our depth chart. Our number 3 is actually Brian Poole, number 34. As you can see, he gets subbed into that position. As we go through these other formations, it's going to be exactly the same way with the nickel 2-4-5 double A gap. 3-3-5 odd is a little bit different, and I'll go over that real quick because it is a popular formation, where you're going to keep your front 3 players, meaning your number 1 depth chart in the defensive tackle and both end positions, but you're going to add the rushing specialist on the left end in the 44 position as an extra player in it, while also subbing out both your slot corner and your sub package linebacker. When you get into 3-3-5 wide, it's a running formation stopper when it comes to nickel. So what you're going to see is that you also have your 3 best players in there when it comes to your defensive line formation, and also your 2 outside linebackers, but you're going to have that sub linebacker and that sub slot corner in that. Now, when we get to big nickel over G, it's in every formation. It's a new one in Madden 19. What you're going to see is that's going to implement all of your sub-package linemen. So each one of those players are going to be sub-package. You're going to get your sub-package linebacker in there. The big difference on this formation is basically what they do. They add another safety to the field. They take your strong safety, move them down to the box to play very similar to a linebacker. And they rotate your free safety from the left side of the field to the right side and put your backup free safety at the left side. Now, when we get into dime and dollar, it's going to be very similar. And I want to make sure I make a point to you because this is going to be something that people are not going to see right away, and you're going to have to understand. When it comes to dime and dollar, if you look at number 28, that is going to be your 4th cornerback, okay? Now, when we put in Isaiah Oliver, who's like our 6th cornerback, into that slot position, it doesn't automatically bump your 3rd cornerback that he replaced to that position. So if you're using slot corners, it is definitely advantageous for you to be able to put your 3rd best corner into the 4th slot in order to make sure that he gets on the dime and dollar formations, okay? Because if you expect to have a slot corner in there, but you don't put your 3rd DB, essentially gets missed, okay? And you're going to see in both of those formations that they've got the sub packages. It's going to be just that way. The rule of thumb is basically your sub packages are for passing downs. They're supposed to be for the ability to go after the quarterback. There are going to be some formations in which a lot of people are going to stay in because they can stop the run and pass. You may not want to have this different people in sub packages. There's going to be some that maybe you know that you go to dime every single time you want to rush the passer in 3rd and long. You want to get your players that are going to pin their ears back and go after the quarterback. You may want to have that sub package for that, right? So that's why there's differences when it comes to the defense side of the ball. So before we go to the slot cornerback position, I want to talk a little bit about some strategy you can use from the sub linebacker position. If you look, we've had number 36, Kamal Ishmael, as our player that he has basically been our sub player. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to my depth chart. And I'm going to go to the player in basically the sub linebacker. And you're going to notice we're going to have the ability to put a safety there. So I just put Keanu Neal there. And what you're going to notice here when you look at this is when I go into your formations, you're basically able to make any formation that has a sub-package capability into that big nickel over G look where you're going to have 3 safeties on the field, one of them playing in a position of a linebacker. Kind of think of like a Deion Buchanan type of player that you want in that spot. If you're in a mutt situation, you know, maybe it would be fun to have a player like Sean Taylor roaming the middle for you, right? What's also nice is that you can also formation sub out your right outside linebacker for your middle linebacker. So essentially what you have there is a little bit more speed on the field where you can use one of them and let the other player kind of roam the field with you. I'm just going to pick the play just so you can see it here. And what you're going to notice, again, is that you're going to have the ability to have Deion Jones on one side, Keanu Neal there, and your strong safety number 2 is going to be out there. So that's basically how that works. I'm just going to pick a play, throw the ball away so we can go through it. But you're going to notice that that's going to be a very viable strategy when it comes to being able to use in the right situation, right? That'll work in dime. Any one of those sub packages where you get that player on the field is now going to be that player that you want, right? So that's basically how that works. Now let's talk about the linebacker, the slot corner position, right? So the slot corner position, number 20 here, he is always going to go in the slot corner no matter any of these sub packages, right? Well, why I want to discuss this is because there is a little bit of strategy behind going to your depth chart and putting your number 1 player in there, okay? So if you've got your number 1 player, in this instance, let's say it's Trufant, right? So let me go ahead and go to the slot receiver, corner here, and I want to put Trufant there. So basically what that's going to do is go ahead and make sure that true font is my slot corner. Okay, that's going to go and push the other players over. So your number 2 player is going to end up being your number 1, and then your number 3 is going to end up being your number 2. So let's go ahead and take a look at it here. And in this instance, if I go to this, you're going to notice that any 3 resets, your number 1's on the inside. If you go back up to the 4-3, you still got Alfred and Trufant. So only when it gets to 3 will that player go into the slot. Okay, so that's basically something you just need to know, just from a standpoint of making sure that you're able to kind of look at it and really take a deep dive into what is beneficial for you. If someone's running a lot of bunch and they're not really attacking, your outside corners, maybe it's better to put a better player in the middle and then, leave a lesser player on the outside. In real life, Isaiah Oliver is a, draft pick that we had as the Falcons this year. He is a better outside player than an inside player. So to get him some playing time this year, it's very likely that the Falcons may put him in passing situations on the outside while moving Alfred, who's normally an outside player, to the middle, giving us the ability to kind of use our strengths to the talent that we have. And that's the same thing you want to do with these sub packages, okay? So let's go ahead and look at the offensive side of the ball. So with offense, they were able to add 2 different types of players on there. The first one you're going to see is a power halfback, which in this instance, we got Tevin Coleman, and a slot wide receiver. So let's go ahead and look at when they get on the field, how to use them, and all that type of stuff. If you look at the formations, what you're going to notice is the rule's pretty simple when it comes to the power back. And what it is basically is that anytime you have the ability to have 1 receiver or less, okay? So if you look at the personnels, if you have 1 receiver or less, your power back will be in, okay? If you've got, see, no receivers, he's in. If it goes to 2 wide receivers, your main back will be in, okay? And then you go back to, say, something like this. The reason why this is important to know is, say you've got to play like I-form wing and you like a certain stretch play, right? You think that you're going to want your fast running back, say you're in a mutt situation, you've got Saquon Barkley as your starter, and then you've got LeGarrette Blount as your power back. Well, you're thinking that Barkley's going to be the one getting this ball because you're going outside. It ends up being LeGarrette Blount because you did not realize he was going to be there. Say they have the same number, so you really don't know when it comes to looking at the play call screen. Something like that would fall through the cracks. Well, this way you know who's going to be there and who's not, depending on how many wide receivers are there. Again, 0 or 1, it's going to be your power back. 2 or more, it's going to be your normal back. Now, while we're on this topic, let's talk about when your 3rd down running back pops up compares to when your regular running back comes up. If you look at the personnel, you're going to see that your 3rd down running back will only come on the field when there's 3 wide receivers. Now, when there's 3 wide receivers, he's only going to come on the field when it's in shotgun. If you look at your under center, see how he never hits the field until it hits shotgun. So it's something that you want to make sure you do. I typically like to have a back that does both for, every down toting plus the 3rd down. But if you have a strategy to where you want maybe more of a pass protector as your 3rd down back, he will come in during the offensive formations where he's in shotgun, not in single back. The last thing we need to look at is slot receiver. Slot receiver is only going to come on the field when there's 3 or more receivers. There is not as much of a rhyme or reason when it comes to when they come on and when they don't. So I have found some similarities, but there are some exceptions to the rule when it comes to why a player would get on the field and why a third receiver slot would get on. If you see here in this instance, single back bunch, number 18 is our 3rd wide receiver. That's Calvin Ridley. But if I go to the next one, number 16 jumps up as a slot receiver. What I've noticed more times than not, that if the tight end is on the line of scrimmage and your slot receiver is off the line, it's going to be your slot receiver. In this instance, you can see that your tight end was off the line, making your slot receiver on the line, which would definitely make it as your player would be the the one that was in your third in your depth chart. So go through these. You see when he's on the line compared to when he's off. The majority of the time, if the tight end is on the line, your slot receiver's there. If he's off the line, then your number 3 would get there. So it's kind of one of those things that you just want to kind of play with, kind of look at what your formations are, because it is going to be important if you're trying to go back and forth. Just like your slot receiver, your slot cornerback, your slot receiver could be your number 1 receiver. So if you're in a 3 wide receiver set, you could definitely use your number 1 to be in the slot. But when you're in a 2 wide receiver set, your number 1 could be on the outside. Just a strategy to use if you like that in your formations to kind of play with it in and out. I know this video got a little long, guys, and I just want to make sure that we got a little bit of a deep dive for you. But if you are not a subscriber already, make sure you hit that subscription. We do mostly tips and strategies when it comes to play design, giving you the best plays out there to beat coverages, is typically what our YouTube channel is about. It's also what our website's about. If you guys haven't checked it already, go to smartmadden.com. We're going to be dropping our first formation schemes on day 1 when it comes to Madden 19, kind of get you started with ways to get better right away. Check those guys out. We do appreciate you, and we will catch you guys on the next video. I want to say thank you for everybody that has watched this video all the way to the end. We do appreciate your support. If you got something useful out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button. It does really help us grow our channel. If you're new to our channel and haven't seen one of the videos that are on your screen right now, go ahead and check it out for some great Madden content. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.